Uncooked, uncensored. Welcome to COASTER-net Uncut.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this very special edition of COASTER-net Uncut, where we reveal to you the winners of the 2016 Ride Warrior Choice Awards. Now, we all know that along with the Ride Warrior Choice Awards, you submitted your ballots to determine who goes into the Thrilling 32 and who becomes our top wood and top steel champion. But tonight, we're going to reveal to you all of the winners from all those other questions that you filled out in the 2016 Ride Warrior Choice Awards. So, Danny, why don't you tell us a little bit about the idea behind the Ride Warrior Choice Awards?
That's right. So, the last couple of years we've always done the roller coaster poll and the Thrilling 32. And then we also had, you kind of did the Golden Loop Awards for a few years, and the thought process going into this year was, why don't we combine the Golden Loops and the Thrilling 32 and make it one collective thing and have people only vote once. And we thought that, the people who, solely followed the Golden Loops and the people who solely followed the Thrilling 32, we would get everyone together and widen our voting pool. And that's what happened. We had 228 people vote, as we've talked about in the Thrilling 32. And, we've had a lot of people ask us, it's like, we did the coaster rankings. We're seeing the Thrilling 32 and everything. But what about all those other questions you asked us? Well, that's what we're doing tonight. The other 14 questions that we asked as part of the Ride Warrior Choice Awards. So we are going to reveal those 14 categories, the top nominees, and then also the winners tonight as part of the Ride Warrior Choice Awards. So with that, do you want to move on to the 14 categories we have tonight? I think we've got a lot to get to, so we'll jump right into it. As always, we like to start off with one of the bigger ones. So we'll start off with the favorite new ride of 2016. And we like to use the term favorite here instead of best because favorite kind of lends itself to the fact that it is a choice awards. It's the choice of the fans. Best kind of means it's some sort of objective scale, and we're getting a subjective ranking from the folks. So we like to call it favorite new ride of 2016. And the top nominees this year, in alphabetical order, is Lightning Rod from Dollywood. No surprise to see that on there. Mako from SeaWorld Orlando. Storm Chaser from Kentucky Kingdom. Tyrone from Fantasialand. And Valraven from Cedar Point. So, Andy, I know, a lot of rides that you and I got to ride. You and I got to ride 4 of these, all except Tyrone, and some of them we rode together. We rode Storm Chaser together. We rode Lightning Rod together. We did not ride Valraven together. We did not Mako together.
Yeah, like you said, 4 out of 5. Obviously, I'd love to have gone on Tyrone. But the Germany trip, a little bit outside of my budget as of right now. This one's a really tough one to actually predict to see who's going to win. I like to think that the clear winner is Lightning Rod, but, like we always said during the Thrilling 32, how many people actually got on it. Mako was a fine coaster. Valraven was a really good coaster. Storm Chaser has been well documented. I have not been a huge fan of in any sense of the term. So I think Lightning Rod is well and above beyond all these other ones. But once again, this is based on pure numbers, who voted the most. So it'll be interesting to see if enough people actually rode Lightning Rod.
Right. Well, the Ride Warrior Choice Award for favorite new ride of 2016 goes to Lightning Rod at Dollywood. It is Lightning Rod winning the favorite new ride category this year. A little over 30% of the vote. Valraven coming in second. Tyrone from Fantasialand actually coming in a third as well. A very close third to Valraven. And then actually in a tie for fourth, Mako and Storm Chaser coming in a tie for fourth for favorite new ride of 2016.
And, I think it needs to be said here that a lot of people have questioned how Lightning Rod is winning, the Golden Ticket Awards, the Thrilling 32. How is Lightning Rod doing so well in these things? The issue, it's clear to me that here you have a poll that has raw numbers. Whoever had the most votes wins. This is clearly showing you that Lightning Rod has the people, that it's not just a fluke. It's not based on, only a handful of people wrote it, but they have it ranked really high. That had nothing to do with this here. That had no bearing on this whatsoever. This was purely based on number of votes, and still Lightning Rod is double in percentage points.
Yeah.
The next guy on the list. Clear winner to me. I find it also interesting looking at this how close Valraven and Tyrone were. And then you see Mako and Storm Chaser also very close down there at the bottom of the list. So very interesting to me to see the percentages here. And I love Valraven. I've been very vocal about Valraven and how good of a coaster I think it is. Some detractors out there, but clearly here the people have spoken, Danny Miller, and the people have said that Valraven is the second best new ride of 2016, which I find interesting as well.
Yeah, certainly an interesting note to take away from that one, but it is Lightning Rod winning the favorite new ride category this year in the Ride Warrior Choice Awards. So moving on, and again, we are reading the top 5 nominees here. Obviously, votes were given to several other rides, but we're reading the top 5 here for brevity's sake. So the next category is Favorite Shooting Dark Ride 2016. The top nominees this year are Ghostwood Estate at Kennywood, Justice League Battle for Metropolis at Six Flags Parks, Men in Black Alien Attack at Universal Studios Florida, Voyage to the Iron Reef at Knott's Berry Farm, and Wonder Mountain's Guardian at Canada's Wonderland. Now, I have not gotten to ride the Justice League rides just yet. I will coming up in the spring, hopefully, whenever Justice League opens at Six Flags Great Adventure. But until then, I've been on the other 4. Haven't been on the Justice League yet, so you have been on all 5. Is that correct?
Yes, I do believe.
Have you been on Ghost? You've done Ghostwood Estate at Kennywood?
I believe so. Is that the one over by the potato patch, if I recall correctly?
Yes, it's the one next to Thunderbolt. It's very similar to Boo Blasters, but it's a little longer, and it loads up it's on the second level.
Yes, I did go on that. So yes,
okay.
I've been on all 5 of these. So that's interesting that I've been on all 5. So there you go. I'm curious to see who the winner is.
All right, and the Ride Warrior Choice Award for Favorite Shooting Dark Ride of 2016 goes to Men in Black Alien Attack at Universal Studios Florida, and it is very, very close, as you can see here, just over 26% of the vote going to Men in Black, 24% of the vote going to Justice League Battle for Metropolis at the Six Flags Parks. Now, it's interesting. We decided to lump those together because the rides are very much the same, and we did that with other rides that are similar later on in this poll. Wonder Mountain's Guardian coming in third place, 16.5% roughly. Ghostwood Estate about 10%, and then around 8% Voyage to the Iron Reef coming in 5th. So Men in Black Alien Attack, the favorite shooting dark ride for 2016.
Interesting choice there. I like Men in Black. I think that maybe Justice League is ever so slightly a little bit better. It begs the question, though, some of the frustration I have with Justice League is the amount of downtime it has, the amount of effects that sometimes don't work. Whereas with Universal, usually Men in Black is at full capacity all the time, always working. Men in Black, I think, was my favorite shooting dark ride before Justice League came out. I thought Justice League was far superior. I like everything about Justice League. Wish they could get it operating more often and at 100%, effect-wise. But the rest of this list doesn't really surprise me. You kind of see Cedar Fair distancing themselves away from the Trio Tech Dark rides. You wonder if they have not had the response that they were looking for with Wonder Mountain and Voyage to the Iron Reef. I don't know. I know you love Wonder Mountain. You're a big fan of Voyage. I like them. I don't think that they're as amazing as other people portray them to be. I think they're fine rides, a good addition to any park. But, I kind of like the Justice League better. The incorporation of the 3D props, real animatronics, real stuff from Sally Dark Ride, added into with the 3D effects, the shooting aspect. I really think the Justice League rides really set the standard for that. And even, versus even like an all-screen ride that we'll see in a different category with some of the other Universal dark rides that don't shoot. I still think Justice League holds its own amongst those as well. So I'm a little bit surprised to see Men in Black taking it, although I understand why.
Me too. Me too, yeah. I'm pretty big on Voyage to the Iron Reef and Wonder Mountain's Guardian. I've ridden Wonder Mountain's Guardian a ton of times, and I've gotten to do the behind-the-scenes of it. We have a wonderful video on the COASTER.net YouTube channel as well of that when I got to do a behind-the-scenes tour. It's about a 15-minute video. You get to see all the ins and outs of Wonder Mountain's Guardian. And I got to ride Voyage to the Iron Reef shortly after it opened. I've heard a lot of people say that maybe the effects don't work as much as they used to. So, maybe when I go back there, I'll get a chance to see if, maybe it's not up to snuff anymore. But Men in Black Alien Attack, the favorite shooting dark ride for this year. Along the same lines, we're moving on to the favorite non-shooting dark ride of 2016. The top nominees this year are The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man at Islands of Adventure, Curse of Dark Castle at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey at Islands of Adventure, Radiator Springs Racers at Disney California Adventure, and The Twilight Zone Tower of Terror at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Now, these are 5 rides. I have been on all of them, and I personally, I always tell people that pretty much more than any roller coaster, my favorite attraction in the world of all time is the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror at Hollywood Studios.
Yeah, the dark rides have, a lot of advantages to them, adding all those special effects to it, being able to tell a story. Usually there's usually a heavy IP connection between a lot of these. Just looking at these nominees, the only one that doesn't have an IP connection is Dark Castle down at Busch Gardens. All the rest of them are very IP heavy. And you wonder how much that plays into it. Twilight Zone, it came under fire recently out in California because they're changing it to a Guardians of the Galaxy IP. A lot of people not happy about that. I would imagine you're in that category. Me, I'm not heartbroken too much. You still got the one down in Florida. But Harry Potter.
As long as they don't change the Florida one, I'm okay with the California one, because the California one was the lesser version. So as long as they don't touch the Florida one, I don't necessarily. I'm maybe not happy about it because I still really enjoyed the California one, but I'm interested to see what they do with the California one.
Yeah, exactly. And you sometimes wonder, well, if it didn't have these IPs, would it be as good? Probably not. But the IPs just bring these things to life. It's the whole Universal Studios philosophy of bringing movies to life. So once again, I'm curious to see, Danny, who wins the Ride Warrior Choice Award?
Well, the Ride Warrior Choice Award for favorite non-shooting dark ride of 2016 goes to the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror at Disney's Hollywood Studios, with 29.4% of the vote. Coming in second, Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey at Islands of Adventure at 21.2%. Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man coming in at third at 12.7%. Curse of Dark Castle 11.3%, and Radiator Springs Racers at roughly 5.5%, coming in fifth there. 5 very good rides, 5 very deserving rides in this category. I would not, personally, I don't think I could argue any of these rides being in this top 5 here. A very good group. By the voters here.
One of my favorite rides is I always struggle with which is my favorite non-shooting dark ride. Between Harry Potter, Spider-Man, and Transformers. Which many
that's
times,
the one missing this list.
Yeah, I give Transformers the nod a lot, simply because I always say,
me too.
With Transformers, If the purpose is for you to feel like you are experiencing the movie in person, I think Transformers gives you that experience perfectly. Fast-moving cars, lots of explosions. And people are like, well, the story's not good. Well, guess what? The story's not good in any of the movies either. So you are actually living the movie. It's amazing how
That's
that works.
right.
But
no, I agree. I think Transformers is my favorite ride at the Universal Complex, followed by Spider-Man and then Forbidden Journey. I go in that order. Now, I still think Tower of Terror is better than all of them. I enjoy that one more, but I am a little disappointed to see Transformers outside the top 5 here.
And not to start controversy here this evening, but I am.
No. Well, Brian's going nuts on Facebook Live right now that we're even talking about Transformers. We're doing Facebook Live right now for anyone watching on YouTube. he is going nuts down here.
I find it hard to believe that Twilight Zone is even a dark ride. Like, to me, the dark ride portion is almost like it's almost, for me, the throwaway part. Like, yeah, some cool stuff happens. They tell you a story, but it's really a drop tower ride in my book. And even then, I don't even rank this very highly amongst either dark rides or drop towers. I'm not a huge Twilight Zone fan, to say the least. I think the theming is amazing. I think it's an interesting story. At the end of the day, though, I find any of these 4 other ones. I've never been on Radiator Springs, but if you add in Transformers, I find those to be far superior. And not to mention the other slight Danny
Radiator
Miller.
Springs is a fantastic ride.
I'll tell you, there's one more snub on here that not only Transformers, but you may have forgotten a little ride called Jurassic Park River Adventure, which is, do you classify that as a dark ride? I don't even know. Do you?
Yeah, well, I think here's the thing. I think the Jurassic Park ride, I think, is the same way that Twilight Zone, Tower of Terror can either be a dark ride or a drop ride. That one can either be a dark ride or a water ride. I think people think of it as a water ride. It's interesting you brought up the whole thing about drop ride because that's coming up in a few minutes here. And we did have people. Now, we did not list Tower of Terror as a category, as an option for the drop ride, but we still had people write it in, and we had several people write it in. So that just goes to show you that some people think of it as a dark ride, some people think of it as a drop ride. The problem is if you truly classified it as a dark ride, it would be a runaway winner, whereas if you put it in the dark ride category, it's got some good competition.
I don't think it's a runaway winner in either category, Danny Miller.
Well, you don't, but you're an idiot, so...
the first idiot thrown out on the Ride Warrior Choice Awards. Okay, Danny Miller, it's on now.
All right,
it's on.
Shall we move on? Because the next one is a controversial one.
Oh, good. Let's just keep rolling.
So the next one is favorite virtual reality coaster of 2016, and we got a lot of hate votes for this one. We actually had a lot of we created an option that said I have not ridden a virtual reality coaster, but we had people check other and write I rode VR coasters and I hated them all. And if we would have put that in the list of top nominees, it would have come in second place. So that's why we left it out. And I don't understand those people. We're just going to let those people go for now because I thought the VR was great. I got to do it on a couple rides. The top nominees are Demon at Six Flags Great America, one that you got to ride. Iron Dragon at Cedar Point, one we both got to try. New Revolution at Six Flags Magic Mountain, Skull Mountain at Six Flags Great Adventure, Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England, and Thunder Run at Canada's Wonderland, one that I got to try. The other one that I got to try this year was the Six Flags America Superman. So I got to do 3, you got to do 3, we got to do, or did you just get to do 2?
2.
You got to do 2, I got to do 3, so we got to do some different ones. What are your thoughts on this one? I don't know. I personally thought the 2 Cedar Fair ones that I did were much, much better than the Six Flags one. I thought the operations were much better. I thought the imagery was a little bit better, but I don't know.
When I voted for this, I have to discount operations. That's not this category. I'm not talking about how long the line is.
Good point.
I'm not talking about how long it takes to dispatch. Because if you add that in, the choice becomes clear. Cedar Fair implemented this much better than Six Flags did. Moving into the second year, I think we've already begun to see some changes to the system, maybe with making reservation times more often than people standing in line. So we'll see how it goes year two. But I'm speaking just on quality of experience. And Danny, I'm going to have to give my vote to the Demon at Great America. The Rage of the Gargoyles experience I thought was far superior. And a lot more fun than the Iron Dragon experience that I had. It was fun enough, but I think the VR does work is a little bit more fun on more intense rides. I like the shooting aspect on many of the Six Flags rides where you get to interact and score some points versus the Cedar Fair, which is just a sensory experience. And I think it'll also be interesting to see how next year. We just saw announced this past, weekend, a few weeks ago for most of us watching, how many parks are now using augmented reality. I saw some video on what they're doing down at Six Flags Over Georgia, and it seems to be pretty interesting trying to blend the VR, AR experiences. So it'll be interesting to see how this changes over time. But I would have to say, looking back on it, I think I like the Demon at Great America. In the Rage of the Gargoyles best.
And I have heard a lot of people share that as well. I think maybe what might hurt is the fact that they put it on so much later than some of these other ones. So let's take a look here. The Ride Warrior Choice Award for Favorite Virtual Reality Coaster of 2016 goes to Iron Dragon at Cedar Point. And not much of a contest, 34.56% of the vote for Iron Dragon. That was the one, that was kind of the big one, and so many people go to Cedar Point. I think, maybe you had a lot of people try that one. I really liked the Thunder Run one as well because you were kind of you're not really strapped in, and it was really interesting because on Thunder Run you go around the track twice. But at the same time, the story was different each time, so you didn't know you were going around the track twice. So I thought that was interesting how they did that too. Thunder Run, Demon, and Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England all tied for second. They all had the same amount of votes. And then New Revolution and Skull Mountain tying for fifth. 5.88% of the vote. So Iron Dragon, kind of the decisive winner. I think this is a category that we have to do again next year because, it'll give more people an opportunity to do it. And we'll kind of get to see how some of these newer ones maybe go because we're getting some different storylines. And then they announced at Cedar Point that it's coming back to Iron Dragon again. So, maybe more people get to try it. One of my best memories of VR was riding Thunder Run, as that was the third one I did, and riding it at nighttime during ERT at the ACE event with folks behind me who had never done VR before, and seeing their reaction to it and how cool they thought it was. They were like, "I'm not sure if I like this. I'm not too excited about this," and then they loved it. So you could hear them during the ride, and I think that's the general reaction from people.
And I wonder how many of those people who voted I hate VR actually rode VR. Yeah, you can say you rode it and you hate it, but I've seen some hate out there, and I just don't understand the hate. If you don't like how it mucks up lines, fine, whatever. Buy a fast lane. Stop being a baby. And I'm against fast lane to begin with, so that takes a lot to say there. But I'm tired of people crying about stupid stuff. And this is one of those things that I think is stupid to cry about.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll see how. I think it's a game changer. So we'll see how things progress in the coming years. Let's move on to the next category here. It is the favorite drop tower ride of 2016. The top nominees this year are Acrophobia at Six Flags Over Georgia, The Big Shot at Stratosphere Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. A little bit of a surprise to see that one on this list here. Falcon's Fury at Busch Gardens Tampa in Florida. Lex Luthor, Drop of Doom, Six Flags Magic Mountain, and Zumanjaro, Drop of Doom at Six Flags Great Adventures. So the two big Six Flags drop towers getting in here. We've got the big Busch Gardens, the iconic drop tower there. We've got maybe Six Flags best drop tower in there, and then we've got the dark horse from Las Vegas there, the Big Shot, the one that's not actually at the amusement park. Personally, my two favorites here are Lex Luthor and Falcon's Fury. I think they offer really different experiences. Big Shot might be number 3. I'm not a huge fan of Zumanjaro. I don't know. I just don't get as much thrill out of that one. Lex Luthor, the tower shakes, and Falcon's Fury, you tilt downwards. And Big Shot, you're just so much higher. You can see the airplanes flying below you. You can see the strip. Zumanjaro just doesn't, it's just really, really tall. And for a drop tower at this point, I need something more than just really, really tall to really make me excited. I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
Yeah, on this grouping, it's interesting to see. I think the clear winner to me is Falcon's Fury. That Falcon's Fury still, every time I ride it, still gets my heart pumping. Still is very thrilling every single time. I've been on 3 of the others here at Lex Luthor, been on that. I enjoyed that experience. Thought it was pretty cool. Did Big Shot at Stratosphere, same reasons that you've done. Did Acrophobia. Could not have been more disappointed in that ride because, I don't know, for some reason, because Acrophobia, I remember, seeing Acrophobia on a lot of the TV shows of, most intense rides in the world. And for some reason, I always got the sense that Acrophobia was supposed to do what Falcon's Fury actually does. So when I got on it, it tilted forward slightly. I'm like, what is this crap? Like this, I was not happy with Acrophobia at all. Though I believe they're putting VR.
I thought it was fun, but I was disappointed.
Now they're putting VR on Acrophobia now, right? Which makes zero sense.
I don't know.
To me.
I haven't read too much into it, but I know they're doing it on some of them.
Yeah,
which I don't know. It depends on what they do with it. They can make something really cool, but it's only going to be so cool. Yeah, you can do a lot more with the roller coasters.
Like to me, the whole attraction of a drop tower ride is the height. Is you being so high, it holding you up there for a moment, you not knowing when it's going to drop. Like, that's the intensity. If you put a VR headset on me, I don't know, I kind of get the sense that all that intensity goes away because you're being distracted by what's happening in the show. Anyway, back to this. Falcon's Fury.
Hold on. I think a lot of people, maybe if you look at it the other way, a lot of the times when you're on the drop tower, you keep finding yourself looking up to see when you're at the top. With the VR, maybe you're distracted by the show so much to the point that you don't know you're at the top and you suddenly drop. So maybe the drop comes as more of a surprise, even though the height isn't there.
I don't know. I don't.
So maybe that's the thought behind it.
I guess, but whatever. Yeah. So.
No. Anyways, so the Ride Warrior Choice Award for Favorite Drop Tower Ride of 2016 does indeed go to Falcon's Fury at Busch Gardens Tampa, 26.7% of the vote. Zumanjaro, Drop of Doom, coming in at second, 18.9%. Lex Luthor, Drop of Doom at 12.9%, coming in third. Big Shot from the Stratosphere, coming in at fourth, 7.4%. And Acrophobia coming in at 5.5%. In fifth place there for drop tower ride. So I personally, I'm really happy to see Big Shot on there, to see kind of a dark horse at kind of like a one-off kind of place, kind of making itself in here, because I think Big Shot deserves to be one of the better drop towers. I think it really is.
Yeah, I think that's a nice one too. I like it there.
Yeah. So the next category is favorite inverted coaster of 2016, and I don't think we need to talk about this one a whole lot. A lot of this kind of goes back to the Thrilling 32, but we did make this one a separate category to see what we would get purely based on what's your number one inverted coaster, and not giving rankings. The top nominees this year are Afterburn at Carowinds, Banshee at Kings Island, Montu at Busch Gardens Tampa, Nemesis at Alton Towers, and Volcano the Blast Coaster at Kings Dominion. Those are the 5 nominees this year for favorite inverted coaster.
I have no thoughts on this, Danny Miller, besides the fact that I was talking to my very good friend today, Arthur Poor, who, expressed to me, a little bit of displeasure here, that a certain green roller coaster from Cedar Point was not included on this list. Where's the Raptor love, Danny? I don't know where it's at. These other rides are fine rides, some of them, but nowhere near the level. Is it you didn't want to include it on the list because you knew it would just run away with the competition? Is that why?
No, Raptor actually did do very well in this topic, as did Talon, but neither were actually able to make the top nominees here this year. So unfortunately, Raptor not. Where's Raptor? People are asking here in the live chat. Favorite the Ride Warrior Choice Award for favorite inverted coaster of 2016 goes to Banshee at Kings Island, 32.43% of the vote. Montu coming in at second at 13% of the vote. Afterburn with 8.1%. Nemesis and Volcano tying at 7.2% for fourth place. And I think that's it's interesting. We always talk about how well Nemesis does in the Thrilling 32, and then it comes in at only fourth on the inverted coaster. That just goes to show you how we kind of remove that bias in the Thrilling 32 and take away the bias from those more ridden rides, because nobody would disagree that Banshee, Montu, Afterburn, and Volcano are four coasters that a lot more people have ridden than Nemesis. So it just goes to show how the poll works.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So now we start getting into some of the more unique topics that a lot of other polls don't do. The next category is the favorite night ride of 2016, the favorite night roller coaster ride. The top nominees this year are The Beast at Kings Island, Boulder Dash at Lake Compounce, Millennium Force at Cedar Point, Tyrone at Fantasialand, and The Voyage at Holiday World. So I think it's very interesting that we see Tyrone poke its head back up here. We've got The Beast is the iconic night ride that everyone talks about. Boulder Dash, Millennium Force, and Voyage are all known for giving very good night rides. Tyrone being a new ride, a lot of people liked it at night with the lighting package and the fog. It got a lot of high praise from those folks overseas for its night ride.
You know what, Danny Miller? The hits keep on coming here, obviously. I don't know if you've lined up these slides to purposely incite me this evening. I don't know what you're trying to do. But yeah, this becomes clear to me. All the fools out there love to talk about Beast at night. I don't see the attraction of going straight into the forest at moderate high speed, like not even high speed. I don't know if people like it's easier to fall asleep at night because it's dark. I don't know what it is, Danny Miller. I have a feeling Beast is going to win, but I personally think that the clear answer here is The Voyage. If you haven't ridden The Voyage at night, you haven't lived
Voyage
yet.
is what should win this category.
You haven't lived yet. And maybe, just maybe, there is a possibility that if you've never been to Hollywood Nights before, there's a good possibility you've never ridden The Voyage at nights. And maybe this is a short
That's
little
how you
plug.
have to do it.
It's a short little plug for Hollywood Nights, that if there is any reason to get out to Hollywood Nights, it is to ride The Voyage at night, which is an amazing experience that will completely change your view of that ride. I think, it's an amazing ride as it is. I think during the day it's really, really good. And at night it's just amazing. It's beyond amazing. So maybe the issue here is, and I'll give the voters a pass because of ignorance, maybe they just haven't been on The Voyage at night yet, so they don't know how good it is.
I won't disagree with your sentiments there. The Ride Warrior Choice Award for favorite night ride of 2016 goes to The Beast at Kings Island with 29.3% of the vote. Coming in second place is Millennium Force at 20.4%. Voyage coming in at third at 15.6%. Boulder Dash 5.8%. And Tyrone coming in at fifth, 3.1%. So nice to see Tyrone make its way into the top nominees there, becoming in at 5th. Beast is the iconic night ride. I mean, I think, like you said, you could kind of see that one coming.
Yeah, it is what it is.
So let's move on to the next category here. The next category is the favorite roller coaster restraint of 2016. This is kind of a new one we kind of experimented with to kind of see, what people would say here, and we gave people several different options here. The top nominees this year are the B&M Hyper/Giga Coaster lap bars, the clamshell lap bars we like to talk about. The B&M Wing/Flying Coaster vests, the ones that you are very much a fan of. You also see those on Banshee. The Great Coasters International lap bars that we see on the Millennium Flyer trains. The Intamin Hyper/Giga lap bars that we see on rides like Millennium Force. And then the Philadelphia Toboggan Company Buzz Bars, the classic Buzz Bars that you see on some of your wood coasters like the Phoenix at Knoebels, the Cannonball at Lake Winnie also has the Buzz Bars. A lot of your old school wood coasters have the Buzz Bars. So those are the top nominees there. Now, you're a big fan of the vests. I'm a big fan of the vests on certain coasters. I don't mind. I like them on the flying coasters. I like them on the wing coasters. I think they work pretty well on the wing coasters as long as they don't lock. I think the dive coaster is the one where I'd prefer the hard restraint as opposed to the vest. But we've discussed this on the show. But you very much prefer the vest on the dive coaster, like Valraven. You do prefer the vest on Raven.
Yeah, I like the vest. Being a bigger guy, I like I get out of my seat a lot more. That those vests, really don't ratchet down on me too much. Now, I do need to preface that where I do not like the locking vests at all on X-Flight and
Agreed.
Wild Eagle. So I think that needs to be stated. I like the unlocked B&M vests a lot, but I still don't think it rivals the Intamin. Millennium Force lap bar for the, because I think the other thing in this category that you need to think about is also what these restraints allow the coaster to do. And it seems to me that those lap bars for Intamin, they don't have a whole lot of restrictions on them that Millennium Force, you get some pretty good airtime going over the hills out and back from the island, that people like to say that there's no airtime on that, but you're out of your seat the whole time, on those hills, and that's partly because of those, lap bars. Versus, I think the other favorite here is the B&M clamshell, but we always complain about B&M not having the forces that we would like to see. And the clamshell, obviously is good for lats and speed. But you look at Fury 325 on the second half, and right when you start hitting that airtime, that's when they start hitting the brakes as well. And you have to wonder if that is because the clamshell, doesn't hold people in as much as say the Intamin, lap bars do. So this is an interesting thing, trying to balance the comfort of the lap bar versus what it allows you to do on the ride. There's a trade-off on both ends. That, a lot of people, a restraint that does not make the list here, a lot of people have been commenting on the RMC stuff as of late. Some people saying that, it's a great restraint system, and some people saying that's a terrible restraint system, that it's very... it's not freeing at all, that they lock you in with the ankle restraints and then the lap bar. That's
I think
right
it would be
against
better
you.
if the seat itself was designed better. I don't know if it's necessarily the restraint itself. I think it's the whole thing
I think
really
in
takes
general,
away from it.
I want to say in general that people are in general against any type of ankle restraint. That I think that's a big thing. Millennium Force doesn't have it. The B&Ms don't have it. But when you see things like on Bizarro or on, Ride of Steel, them adding those ankle restraints to the Intamin system.
The Premier coasters, the Spaghetti Bowls have the ankle restraints too.
Hate it because you're stuck in that seat. At some point I'd much rather have an OTSR like Maverick with the soft or hard, and have to deal with that than have to deal with ankle restraints. I'd much rather have to deal with the OTSR than the ankle restraints because the ankle restraints almost ensure that you are not coming out of your seats most of the time, that there is no and if you are, it's bouncing on your upper half, which is my complaint with Storm Chaser. I think it's uncomfortable because the bottom half of your body isn't moving at all on Storm Chaser. It's the upper half of your body, and it's painful. And I'm not here to be a baby. I'm just here to tell you what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, all good points. So the Ride Warrior Choice Award for Favorite Roller Coaster Restraint 2016 goes to the B&M Hyper/Giga lap bars, the clamshell lap bars. I don't think that's much of a surprise there. Almost 50% of the vote going to those. 25% going to the Intamin lap bars. So I think, definitely two good choices there. The Buzz bar is going third, 10%. A little under 9% saying the B&M wing flying vests, and then the GCI lap bars coming in a little above 4% there in fifth place. So interesting list there. We'll see if that category makes a return in the future here. Another category that we made for the first time here this year. The favorite airtime element of 2016. And we didn't add a write-in option for this one, particularly because we thought we would just get a lot of different things written in, and we feared that we wouldn't really get a clear-cut winner. So we tried to take like 8 to 10 of the ones that a lot of people tend to talk about mostly and put them on a list and kind of, decide to see what we get. The top nominees this year for favorite airtime element are the Apollo's Chariot First Drop, Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, the Boulder Dash Double Down at Lake Compounce, the Jackrabbit Double Down Double Dip at Kennywood, the Leviathan Speed Hill at Canada's Wonderland, the Lightning Rod Quadruple Down at Dollywood, and the Millennium Force Speed Hill at Cedar Point. So we actually had 6 nominees here. I think those are all very good airtime elements. Those are all very good choices. I think there's maybe 2 or 3 that stick out to me above the others. I think just having ridden it, I think the Lightning Rod Quad Down and the Millennium and Leviathan Speed Hills there are maybe the ones that you hear talked about mostly. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the ones we have listed here?
Bash my head against the wall here, Danny Miller. Some of these don't even – the Boulder Dash Double Dip, I don't recall at all. That's how memorable it was. The Jackrabbit Double Dip, okay. I didn't find it to be all that spectacular, to be completely honest with you. Having ridden it in the back seat as well, so for all those people going to criticize me on that. The Apollo.
I think you just don't like wood coasters is what I'm interpreting here.
Well, no, I'm not going to come down on Lightning Rod, although you could make the argument. Apollo's Chariot's First Drop, okay. I know you keep telling me to sit in a certain seat. I've sat in that certain seat. I still haven't figured out what you're trying to talk about here.
You ride it once first thing in the morning and then don't give it another chance. Come on, bro. I've ridden
it plenty of times throughout my life, at least 3.
Oh, yeah, plenty.
Plenty of times to get that. The other ones here, I think you have 3 pretty good examples here. The Millennium Force Speed Hill.
Well, that's what I said. I said there's 3 that stick out.
I wasn't disagreeing with you. I was just
the one that I'm a little surprised didn't make it into the top nominees is that Iron Rattler Canyon Drop. That was one that we had on there that a lot of people didn't vote for, which I thought was a little bit of. I think maybe it's just because people haven't ridden it.
Yeah, and that's one that's really fantastic. That is an amazing element. And then if you add in that turn into the cave with the lights, it's really amazing. But I think you have 3 very good things here. Definitely the Millennium Force Speed Hill, the Leviathan Speed Hill, and the Lightning Rod Quad Down. These are the highlights of those rides for me. A lot of people would say a Millennium Force Speed Hill. No. That is my favorite element on that entire ride because it's unexpected at the end of the ride where you're not expecting.
It is.
The quick pop out of your seat, which is a lot of fun. How quick pop should be done if you're listening to the show, Alan Schilke. Anyway.
Jeez. Well, the Ride Warrior Choice Award for the favorite airtime element 2016 goes to the Millennium Force Speed Hill with 24.56%. A close second is Lightning Rod's Quad Down at 21.49%. Then we've got a distant tie for third. We've got Polished Chariot's First Drop and the Jackrabbit Double Dip at 10.5%. Then also a tie for fifth, Leviathan Speed Hill and the Boulder Dash Double Dip. At 7% there. So if you were to ask me which one I was going to expect to win, I probably would have guessed the Millennium Force Speed Hill. I mean, it's Millennium Force, that's Cedar Point, and it is one of the best airtime elements out there. But,
I disagree with a lot of this. I would vote for Lightning Rod being the clear winner. There is nothing like that anywhere else in the world. And I think the Leviathan Speed Hill is better than the Millennium Force Speed Hill because Leviathan, you're doing at a much higher.
It's got the turn.
Leviathan it's the same element, the same essential element, but done at a lot higher speed with the turn. Whereas Millennium Force, like I said, at the end of the ride, unexpected, but still done a little slower. I think the Leviathan Speed Hill is probably better. So I kind of disagree with a lot of that. So we can move on.
Well, the one that I voted for didn't even make this list here. I personally voted for the First Drop on Tennessee Tornado.
Okay. I can
in the back seat, that is because you not only have the oh shit moment on the drop, you were out of your seat the entire way down the drop, and it's in the tunnel. And that is personally my favorite airtime element there. I think Raven's fifth drop is pretty good too. That's one that we put on there. But I think Tennessee Tornado is my favorite airtime element. So I was a little disappointed that one didn't do a little better.
I thought you were going to talk nonsense to me and say something with Manta, so...
No. If there's one thing Manta doesn't have a whole lot of it's technically Manta's all airtime because you're hanging out of your seat, but we won't get into that. The whole thing is an airtime element.
Let's move on.
All right, let's move on here. Next category is the favorite park entry area of 2016, and we're talking about the parks that make a very big visual impression when you first walk into the park. What is your favorite welcoming to a park? The top nominees are Carowinds with Fury 325 at the main entrance, Cedar Point with Gatekeeper and its the Gatekeeper towers, the keyholes, Islands of Adventure with the Lighthouse and the port of entry, Kings Island / Kings Dominion with the Eiffel Tower and the fountains and the reflecting pool there, if you will, and Magic Kingdom and Disneyland with Sleeping Beauty / Cinderella Castle and the Main Street entry area. And, you've got the train station there as well. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. Those are the top nominees. I think it's interesting because you've got two that are very coaster-centric. Yes. You've got two that are very icon at the end of a long walkway. And then you've got the Islands of Adventure, which is just kind of like a little bit different where you have an icon out in front and then you kind of have this, this leading into the theme park experience. So you've got three different genres, I think, here.
Well, I think a lot of people are going to gravitate towards the coaster idea, having the coaster be your center point. But, in general, though, yes, Gatekeeper is really cool flying overhead, especially with the twist it does. Fury is really cool with the impression it gives you. But I think overwhelmingly, the rest of the plaza is not all that memorable. Very modern, but not very decorative by any sense of the word. I actually voted here for Islands of Adventure, and it's not only the architecture. The lighthouse is nice. It's one thing, but walking in through the theme gates, the music playing. The music is so iconic. I can hear it in my head right now. The smell that hits you. For some reason, it's always wet in there. I don't know why. So there's always puddles, whether it's good or bad. It's just it's just so cool to walk into that, and you walk into that world that way. I guess Magic Kingdom, to some extent, I don't like the whole Main Street idea, because so many other parks have tried to copy it. I almost feel that the original has lost its impact with how cool it actually is, because every park is like that now, where you walk in and there's a Main Street. How many Six Flags parks have that? Six Flags America, Six Flags New England. It's
Six Flags Great Adventure does it.
Every little park tries to copy that concept, and it's all from Disney. So I think it's kind of lost something. So, I can understand people going the coaster route maybe, but I really think, Islands Adventure is really cool. I'm not a big fan of the fountains and the Eiffel Tower. I like the fountain part of it. I still don't understand the Eiffel Tower. I don't get it. I don't know why there's Eiffel Towers.
I personally voted for Canada's Wonderland because if you like the fountains, you've got the fountains. Yes. You've got the Canadian flag flower bed there. You've got your icon at the end, which is Wonder Mountain, which is different. It's unique. It's a ride. It's an attraction. You've got the waterfall. You've got the mist. And if you like the coaster, you've got Leviathan kind of right there off to the side. Yes. It's not the focal point, but it's right there. If you like a little bit of roller coaster right at your entrance to kind of get you pumped up for the day. As Rob Decker likes to say, you've got a little bit of that Main Street feel to it. I think you kind of take the best of the coaster entries and the Main Street entry and the Kings Island, Kings Dominion, and you kind of pump it all into one. I think you kind of take the best from a few things there and kind of put it all into one with Canada's Wonderland entrance.
Yeah, I still go with Islands of Adventure just for the overall experience, but definitely I think Canada's Wonderland is probably my next favorite on that list.
Yeah. Well, the Ride Warrior Choice Award for Favorite Park Entry Area of 2016 goes to Cedar Point with Gatekeeper and the Gatekeeper Keyholes. Not much of a surprise there, 30% of the vote. Second place is Carowinds at 11.9%. Then we've got the Disney entrances, Magic Kingdom and Disneyland at 10%. Kings Island, Kings Dominion at 9.7% shortly after that. And then Islands of Adventure actually coming in fifth with 7.5%. So I would have liked to see Islands of Adventure do a little better there, but it does get into the top 5 anyways. Yeah. So, something to hang its hat on there. All right, so now we're going to get into the last couple here. These are the write-in categories. These are great here. Next up is the least favorite roller coaster of 2016, and I'm calling them the top nominees. Maybe it should be the bottom nominees. The least favorite roller coaster of 2016, the nominees are Corkscrew at Cedar Point, Green Lantern First Flight at Six Flags Magic Mountain, Hurler at Kings Dominion, Mean Streak at Cedar Point, T3 at Kentucky Kingdom, and Vortex at Kings Island. So, Andy, isn't it interesting that 2 of the 6 rides that we see in the top nominees list are gone? Are essentially gone and are coming back as RMCs 2018.
Well, yeah, I think that's the first thing to note is that, we just saw, pictures this week leak of Hurler, of the RMC truck out at Hurler at Kings Dominion. Obviously, we already know what's happening to Mean Streak. So obviously Cedar Fair is listening to the people and trying to change these rides. I have a tough time agreeing with some of the other rides on this list. I understand I am amongst the minority of saying that I like T3. I actually much enjoyed the new restraint system on that. I thought it added an extra element of terror to that ride, with just having these weird seatbelts all over.
Well, they changed it from a 2 to a 3.
Well, yeah, it did.
They added another terror.
I know a lot of people
wrote in the Beast.
I know a lot of people hate T3. I don't get the hate. Same thing with like Vortex. I get it. It's an old Arrow. Vortex would be one of those rides that maybe I like to see some of the new style trains on. It's probably not possible with how it sits in the trough. But having those vest restraints, I think, would help every Aero coaster with OTSRs.
I think that's why Corkscrew's on here too.
Yeah, and those restraints, especially when you get stuck on the brake run, The restraints with the added seatbelt that just lock you in there, it's uncomfortable. It's bad news all around. I don't think, a corkscrew is a corkscrew. If you hate corkscrews, then there's a lot to hate out there in the world. The other one I don't get the hate for is a lot of people hate Green Lantern First Flight, and
I had a good ride on Green Lantern the first time I went out there in 2012, and then when I went back out in 2015, I had a really bad ride on it. So I'm 50-50 on Green Lantern. If I were to go off my most recent ride, I would say I don't have a problem with it here. But if I would have gone off my first ride, I would have said I really liked it. I do like the newer ones better, though, because I did get to ride the Joker Great Adventure. I do like that one better. A bit more comfortable.
In fairness, I've only had one ride. I did not dislike it. I thought it was somewhat fun. But my sister, Ride Warrior Stephanie, and my, brother-in-law, Ride Warrior John, both rode it, and they both hate it with a passion. So, there's hate out there, too, for it. So I get that. I thought it was okay. Maybe I just got a good ride. So I'm curious to see what actually wins here.
Well, the Ride Warrior Choice Award for the least favorite roller coaster of 2016 does go to T3 at Kentucky Kingdom with 15.64% of the vote, more than double the second place coaster, which was Mean Streak at Cedar Point, which I'll get to Mean Streak in a minute because I have something to say about Mean Streak. Third place, Green Lantern. Fourth, Vortex at Kings Island, and then Corkscrew and Hurler tying for fifth. If you ride Mean Streak the way it is supposed to be ridden, it is a very good roller coaster. You and I agree on this point. You and I don't agree much here, but if you ride Mean Streak the way it was meant to be ridden, it is a fine roller coaster.
I'm going to rail a lot here, Danny Miller. So I'll start with your point.
Go for
it. With Mean Streak. One, if you know how to ride Mean Streak, at best, it's nothing. At worst, I should say, it's nothing. It's not that painful. For all the people out there complaining about Mean Streak, if you ride in the backseat of Mean Streak, it's just as rough as riding the backseat of Beast. Yet I hear people lining up every day to tell me how great the Beast is. Yeah. It's just as rough as Mean Streak ever was in the backseat. So get off and stop complaining about that. If you know how to ride Mean Streak, at worst, it's nothing. It's boring. It's slow. If you get a trimless ride in the proper seat, in the proper riding position, it can even be a very good ride. It's in my top 20 wood coaster rides if it's in the right conditions. It's not always in the right conditions. Even if it's in the usual conditions, you can pull yourself off against the back of the seat, not get jostled around too much, and be perfectly fine. I don't understand the Mean Streak hate. I'm not saying it's amazing. I'm not saying they shouldn't be RMCing it, but it's not. It doesn't deserve to be on this list. Point number 2.
Nope.
Here's my other point. If you hate T3 that much, you're telling me that every other SLC out there is better than T3? Are you out of your minds that the horse collars are more comfortable than what T3 provides you? What are you smoking out there? T3 isn't even the worst SLC out there. The Mighty Racers are far worse than T3 ever is. And if it hurts your thighs too much, oh, too bad. If you just on the brake run and it hurts your thighs too much, oh my goodness. All the Sky Rush.
You sound like you just got off a Sky Rush.
Oh my God, it's so ridiculous. How can you say T3 is the worst when there are SLCs out there that are a million times worse with those stupid horse collars that they put you in? What kind of stupid people would even say this?
Well, and I will say this to get back to your Mean Streak point very quickly. Adam Beard and I on Labor Day weekend, we asked for jellyfish. We received jellyfish on our very last ride in the very front row at just as the sun set. We thought it was very appropriate, and we had a damn good ride on Mean Streak, on our final ride of Mean Streak. We had a damn good ride on Mean Streak. I think it is completely unjustified. I understand why it's going away.
Yeah.
And because that's not the way it runs normally anymore. Yeah. And I can agree with the fact that if you're not going to run a ride the way it's supposed to be run, you need to do something. So I don't disagree with that. I understand why it's happening. And I'll say what Adam Beard said when we got off of that ride for the final time. He said, that was a damn good ride. Now RMC the shit out of it. Yeah. And that's, that was kind of my feeling. It's like, it was very good, but let's make something really, really cool out of it. And I hope we get that. But so, T3, the least favorite roller coaster 2016, the Ride Warrior Choice Awards. Moving on along the same lines, we have the most overrated roller coaster of 2016. The top nominees are The Beast at Kings Island, Blue Fire Mega Coaster at Europa Park, Magnum XL 200 at Cedar Point, Millennium Force at Cedar Point, and Valravn at Cedar Point. Very, very interesting list of coasters here. For the people who can't see, because, we're doing this Facebook Live tonight for some of the folks who want to join us to get a sneak peek at the winners. Andy has his face in his hands right now.
Danny, I can't even right now. I can't even talk about this.
Why is Magnum on this list? Because our voters don't even rank it that high. It didn't even make the thrilling 32, and they're calling it overrated. Like, what?
Danny, I don't even know. I don't even know why most of these rides are on this list. Why is Millennium, I get Millennium Force, people don't like it, people think it's over. Why is Valravn on this list? Why is Blue Fire Mega Coaster? Who is talking about Blue Fire Mega Coaster other than Brian Bass? Who is talking about this ride? How many times in conversation does Blue Fire Mega Coaster even come up? Never. Diamondback. Why is Diamondback on this list? Danny, there's one ride I can agree with, and everyone knows what that is. I don't even need to say it, but
yeah. The Ride Warrior Choice Award for most overrated roller coaster of 2016. It goes to Millennium Force, and I don't even want to talk about this because this is ridiculous. People are okay. This is just one we got wrong.
Whatever. Moving on. Oh, it gets better. It gets better.
So, Millennium Force, then the Beast, then Valravn, Magnum XL 200, Blue Fire, and Diamondback actually tied Blue Fire for 5th on this list, as you can see here. Millennium Force, most overrated. What the hell is going on?
Danny?
There's nobody back there, but,
Danny, I'm just looking at the next slide already, and you are sending me up a wall tonight. Up a freaking wall.
Yes, I know. Don't worry, chat room. Don't worry, chat room. You think you're upset now. Wait until we get to the next one.
Oh, my God. Just
too much Midwest love and too much Midwest hate at the same time, Brad says in the chat room here. The next category is most underrated roller coaster of 2016. So we just had overrated, and now we have underrated. And we only have 3 top nominees because these were the only 3 that actually got a lot of votes. Then we had a bunch tied for 4th, 5th, and so on. The top nominees for most underrated roller coaster 2016. Manta at SeaWorld Orlando.
I'm done.
That's the first nominee. The next nominee is Maverick at Cedar Point. And the third nominee is Phantom's Revenge at Kennywood.
Danny, I'm just imagining that all your family voted for Manta. That's how it obviously. What 20? What? Oh, it's only 2%. I thought it was 22. 2%, whatever. Okay.
Brad said, really, all three of them are overrated.
Oh,
I don't know if he meant overrated or if that was a typo. But the Ride Warrior Choice Award for most underrated roller coaster of 2016 is Maverick at Cedar Point, with just 4% of the vote. And then there was actually a tie between Manta and Phantom's Revenge. We had 7 coasters tie for 4th because we had a bunch that got 2 or 3 votes. And then we had 15 coasters tie for 5th. So Maverick, now, I don't disagree here that I think Maverick should win this award, because Maverick is one. We talk about this a lot every year with the Thrilling 32 about how as of right now, people know it's in the Final 4. We don't know how it's going past that, but we don't know if it's going to go past that, or if it's going to lose, or where it's going to end up. But Maverick is one that you and I talk about always doesn't get the love it deserves. So I don't have a problem with Maverick winning this award here.
Yeah,
you're doing something. You're doing something over there.
I think Maverick. I think this year it's getting the love, so maybe it's being rated correctly. Finally, I think historically Maverick has been underrated. But I think recently, it's finally moving into the position of prominence of which it should reside. But historically, I would say yes, underrated. Phantom's Revenge, okay, I like Phantom. I think more, but I get the sense that most people rank Phantom where it should be ranked. And Manta, whatever. So let's move on.
Do you think that was just a spite vote from some people? Against you?
That's people need to catch a life, I think.
All right. Well, Andy, are you ready? Are you ready for the final category?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So the last category for the night, and the last category of the 2016 Ride Warrior Choice Awards is, of course, the favorite amusement or theme park of 2016. Favorite park of 2016. The top nominees this year for favorite park are Busch Gardens Williamsburg in Williamsburg, Virginia, Cedar Point, Sandusky, Ohio, Dollywood, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, Europa Park, Roost, Germany, Islands of Adventure, Orlando, Florida, Kings Island in Mason, Ohio, or Kings Mills, depending on where you stand on that. Knoebels Amusement Resort from Aylesburg, Pennsylvania, and Phantasialand from Brühl, Germany, I believe is the town there. I probably butchered that pronunciation. It's near Cologne. Okay, it's in Germany. Phantasialand there. Phantasialand has had a very strong showing in these awards. Tyrone has made it in a couple of these. Hasn't won anything, but has made it in a couple, and we see Phantasialand here in the nominee list for favorite park. So Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, Cedar Point, Dollywood, Europa Park, Islands of Adventure, Kings Island, Knoebels, and Phantasialand, once again, your nominees. Andy, your thoughts before we reveal the favorite park of 2016?
Danny, there's a clear answer here. I think everyone knows my position on it. So let's just get into the percentages.
Yes, yeah. All right. Well, the Ride Warrior Choice Award for favorite amusement or theme park of 2016 goes to Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. 34.23% of the vote. A surprise second place finish for Phantasialand in Germany at 9.91%. Busch Gardens Williamsburg coming in third at 6.3%. Islands of Adventure fourth, 5.86%. And then we had several of the other parks tied for fifth. We had Dollywood, Europa Park, Kings Island, and Knoebels all tied for fifth at 4.5% of the vote. So, Andy, you get a little bit of redemption on the golden tickets here because Cedar Point runs away with our award this year.
And that goes without saying as well. But, I can already see the hate mail, all the hate mail pouring in about why is Europa Park so small, such a small part of this. And you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to point to Europa Park not being at number 5, but Fantasialand being at number 2, because we had a lot of voters, we said many times over, a lot of voters from Europe this year in these awards. And the people in Europe who have been to both of these parks still say that Fantasialand is better. From just looking at pictures, I think Fantasialand looks better. I think Fantasialand's making some great strides in trying to be the best park in Europe, with the addition of things like Tyrone, and then we also saw the family boomerang coaster being added there as well. They're making some great strides there. So I think people's opinions, the golden tickets might be a little bit behind on this, because maybe, when Ace went there, a few years ago, maybe Europa Park was the best park. I don't know if that's the case anymore, because I'm hearing from people currently living in Europe that it's not the best park, that Fantasialand is. And I've heard that from people that have currently, from America, who have recently went over.
And it might just be quantity at this point, too, because Europa is so much bigger.
But people went over there from America and, fell over themselves and had a holy experience with Europa. And it just seemed to be the right answer. Let's crap on Cedar Point and let's praise Europa for all the great stuff it does. But here, I look at here, and I see 9% of the vote, 9%, almost 10% of the vote going to Fantasialand, and that's got to mean a lot there. So I'm thinking maybe we should all book some trips back to Germany to see if Fantasialand is indeed better than Europa and better than some of these other places. Like, Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, I like the park. I'm not a huge fan of the ride selection and all that. Islands Adventure, I think, is a great park theme-wise, the ability to go on some great stuff. Dollywood, okay park. I like it. Not in love with it. Kings Island, same thing. Knoebels, whatever. I don't have the energy tonight. I don't have the energy tonight, Danny Miller, to rail on that. But here, I find it interesting. 1 and 2 Cedar Point Fantasialand. And I think all those Europa Park lovers out there might want to get back out there to see what Fantasialand's all about, because a lot of people saying that that's the best park in Germany. So there you go.
Yeah, and personally, my favorite park, Busch Gardens Williamsburg at number 3. I'm very happy to see that one on the list as well, because that is my favorite park right there. And who knows? Well, I mean, there are people who share that opinion. They're both very good parks. Williamsburg getting their wood coaster finally this year with Invadar. So we'll see how that might change things next year. So that'll kind of wrap up the 2016 Ride Warrior Choice Awards. Any final thoughts, Andy, before we sign off for the evening?
I think throughout this whole process with the Thrilling 32 and the Ride Warrior Choice Awards that the support has been overwhelming. So I know we've had a lot of fun criticizing some of your opinions tonight, but it's all in good fun. We actually do appreciate you participating in these awards, because and this is why we do it. That we said we wanted to give it back to the people. That every single year we hear about people complaining about the Golden Ticket Awards, and we hear about people complaining about the Reader's Choice Awards and all the TripAdvisor
USA
Awards,
Today and all these other stuff
and all that other junk. We wanted to give it to you. You responded overwhelmingly. You participated. And so I think, this is a good representation of what people like. Everyone is equal in this vote. But I think a lot of times you get to see what the majority likes, and that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it is.
Yeah, I agree. And like we said, yeah, right. And like we said, 228 people voted this year. That is by far a new record for us this year. And as long as you guys keep voting, we'll keep doing this year after year, because we get we get a month and a half worth of content, with the Thrilling 32, and then we get another show out of this. I mean, we essentially get 2 months worth of shows for COASTER.net Uncut here out of all this. And, it's really interesting seeing different people who come into this and, come into this year after year, and we get more people and we get different people. And I think that's kind of the fun part, is that this does change every year because our voting pool does change. We're not taking the same group of people. We're constantly, adding people to this group and to this fan base. So I think that's really one of the most fun parts about it, that it's never easy to predict, as we see time and time again. So once again, thank you very much for all the support and the participation. This show and these awards would certainly not be what they are now, and what they've progressed to become these last 5 years, really, that we've been doing, like the coaster poll and everything. But the last really, year and a half, 2 years or so that we've been doing this show, and we've really kind of taken off with it. It wouldn't be what it is now without the participation and the votes that you guys come in and give us. So thank you for all that. We really do appreciate it, and we have a lot of fun with it. It's our favorite time of year.
So, as always, I am Andy Robarchuk from Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm Danny Miller from Binghamton, New York.
And as always, right on.
Hello, gentlemen. Did you miss me? I tried to leave you guys alone, but you've left me no choice. I applaud your coverage of Mystic Timbers and Invader. The Thrilling 32 was a scam. Flying Turns is the champion, and will always be the champion, followed by Impulse. You both better watch yourself, along with your little sidekick Rob Dole. And one last thing. Tony Clark is right. We are coming.